Hello and welcome back to Good Storms Games, where I like the recording I made last time so much that I decided to do it over again and give it this another college try. Today we're working on ring shields. Hopefully you saw that by the thumbnail. We're looking at ring shields and a bunch of tips and tricks about ring shields and how they're actually really great to use in your builds as long as you know how they work. So, first of all, ring shields can be attached to a sub-object like a spin block, and they can still add their benefit to your craft, as well as other sub-objects. We'll get to that later. So, big thing to note on sub-object. This sub-object is pointing left of this craft. Front of the craft is over here. This thing is pointing left. Now, if we grab a ring shield and we stick it on here, it's doing the forwards-backwards addition to the AC because it's facing forward on the sub-object. You can do some pretty crazy things this way by adding ring shields as sub-objects. You can orient them all in like an area, all oriented the same direction, but because they're oriented on the spin blocks differently, you can have them all buffing different parts of the vehicle. So very useful for when you're building ring shields and you're trying to prevent them from exploding and damaging, because if you take out a corner piece or any piece of pipe of the ring shield, it's going to do a crazy amount of damage in that direction its ends are pointing, and you potentially destroy your entire craft if you don't plan around the ring shields. The way I have these ring shields set up inside here is not good. On the Black Mist, I had a better idea of these spinning ring shields being basically on the bottom of it and basically in a place where they're just not going to do any damage to anything, because all that's above them is hangars that hold drones that get launched at the beginning of battle, so not going to do any damage to anything sensitive there. Alright, so getting back to it, let's get rid of that. If we put this here, you're going to see there's left and right, even though it's facing forwards, it's buffing left and right, and so on and so forth. Now, we're going to get into the really interesting bits about ring shields and how they function. You see here are matching turrets. Let's look at the AC on the front here first. The AC on the front here is 51.5, right? This is just a single block. It's getting a boost of 51.5 because it is on the front, right? These on the front, because there's a block behind it, it's getting a plus 8, right? To its AC, and maybe a little bit more depending on what's behind it, but yeah, so those are getting 61.8. That's the front, right, around that turret. Now this turret turns sideways. Where do you think the buff is going to be on the front? Right, this is the front, right? No, that doesn't look quite right. The AC doesn't look the same. No, it's on the front of the sub-object. Sub-objects on the front, the AC is the same, 61.8, right? We're gonna look at the top here. Top, 50.7. Top of this, 50.7. And now, here's the really cool part. We're gonna dive inside here, and look. We got an AC of 50.7. Look at that. It's, you know, it's really weird because you look at this wooden beam here. It's fully encapsulated, right? It's only got an AC of 8 because it's not attached to any of the surface, but it's inside the craft itself. Its AC is lower, so it's actually just 8, right? But the sub-object gets the AC bonus regardless if it's on the outside of the ship or on the inside of the ship. So if you're armoring your turrets, you can make them a lot more durable with ring shields compared to the other defensive options, such as, oops, let's just look at it because I forget the name, the planar shields, the shield projectors, right? And potentially for less power. I know each one of these is drawing 600 power right now, or 700 depending, close to what it's doing, who knows. So they are really power hungry and potentially very volatile and dangerous to your ship overall. So after we get through those, we can do some even more crazy stuff. So we're just going to run through a scenario really quick. If we go in here and we look at the, let's not do a frag head. Well, let's look at a frag head real quick. So frag head, it explodes, even if you have like a penetration depth fuse or something like that. The damage fragments coming out have 4 armor piercing, right? So they're not going to do a lot of damage to something that has, you know, 50, maybe 60 armor rating, depending on what material you're using. It's going to have the kinetic damage reduced damage by a metric buttload. Now, we're going to look at stuff that normally has problems with different armor schemes. Oh, I'm losing my soundproofing. Error, error. Alright, let's look at it real quick. We're going to look at some HESH. Now, HESH normally is the bane of ship's existence. If a round hits, planar shields have the bonus of being able to bounce shells between 20 and 40% chances. So a HESH round is going to be very deadly. You can even have HESH missiles, which completely ignore planar shields. So ray shields are actually better in those cases. So you're gonna have that HESH, right? You're gonna have some high explosive on there, and we're gonna look at this. So the HESH explosive, the block damage, so the kinetic damage it does, the AP of the fragments spawned is equal to the thickness weighted average of the armor of the blocks that HESH shockwave passes through. With the final layer, the spot lightning is generated from counting 3 times. So for 2 thick block setup, in normal cases you're gonna have 40. In this case 51, so you have a bit of a boost to the damage. Then you're gonna have 8 from the wood beam times 3. So you got 40 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 divided by 4, which is giving you about 16 armor piercing. That's fairly high compared to fragments, or for that matter, heat rounds, and the damage that they do and the armor piercing they have. So HESH can be extremely dangerous and eat at very sensitive bits, especially if you don't have any spall liners of any kind. Now, this wooden beam, you know, it's got an AC of 8, and so you're going to have that spalling out, and you're going to run into something that has 50 AC. You're going to have a huge reduction in damage using a ring shield on your sub-objects, as long as you armor your turrets, right? Even if it's wood, if you got a full wood ship with wood protected armored turrets and stuff, it's still going to be very helpful having a ring shield. You know, it just because of the spalling, heat and HESH is going to be doing less damage. Now you can go crazy and you can have a sub-object made out of heavy armor on the inside, and in this case it doubled up 85 AC, right? Now instead of doing, oh, I don't know, 1,000, maybe 1,000 damage overall to a piece of metal, you're doing probably like 20 damage to this from the fragments of a HESH shell. And that's kind of where you're going to see a huge benefit. Basically any kind of HESH, heat, frag, even kinetic rounds with ring shield are going to be doing a heck of a lot less damage. Unless, of course, they're like super buffed kinetic rounds from railguns. If you get up over 70 armor piercing, actually, realistically, the highest you can really get is around 70 to 80 armor piercing, and that's really pushing it with railguns. Super expensive to get that high with a kinetic round. And so, like, if you have a bit of heavy armor sub-objects sitting around, they can completely negate a lot of damage from any kind of kinetic-based damage. Whether that's HESH, heat, frag, or just regular kinetic rounds, this armor rating is going to just eat away at the damage. It's going to be a huge boon to you. And the really cool part is we're going to be looking at this front here, right? Let's look at it straight on. 51.5. If we go on here, really cool. Normally, what happens with ring shields is you add some surface area, and you reduce the amount of the protection you're getting from that ring shield, right? It's gone down by 1 point-ish, right? Just by adding that much surface area to this ship. Now, we can remove all those. And I also can show you the cool thing about sub-objects, right? Go in here. It's on the outside of this. Here's the turret. Remove that. Hey, the armor rating didn't go up at all. What's going on here? Any subject on your build isn't going to add to that calculation that the ring shield does. So if you have a build with a lot of sub-objects, ring shields are really your best bet for protecting them, because you can use much smaller ring shields to get a much huger armor boost to your ship. And it's pretty remarkable how big of a difference you can have. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're building. So that's everything I got for you guys on this, and I hope the recording is just sweet at this point, because I put a lot of effort into getting a good recording. Probably about 3 hours just to record this 15-minute little tutorial. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Drink some coffee. I know I need some, and maybe some sleep at this point. And keep building some stuff. Keep enjoying some stuff. Leave a comment, ask questions, get involved, like, subscribe, hang out. It really helps me out. And can't wait to see you guys again. Adios.